Hi, and welcome to the Norfolk Southern Asheville District. This layout, set in the mountains of western North Carolina, depicts modern mountain railroading on the East Coast. So for the next few minutes, sit back, enjoy, and thanks for watching. Hey y'all, once again, welcome back to the layout. My name is Josh, and today we're going to give you a quick tour of the Norfolk Southern Asheville District in HO scale. Every year I like to do a quick tour to show you what's new around the layout, as well as give all the new subscribers and followers an overall view of the layout itself. It is an HO scale double deck layout, and instead of a helix we have a climb which connects the two levels. It's a 2.6% grade, which is the maximum grade. And the minimum radius is 36 inches, and it is a prototype freelance layout, so it's loosely based on the Norfolk Southern Asheville District in western North Carolina. However, it's not an exact replica of any one particular line. You'll notice a lot of the town names and control points and locations on the railroad are named and modeled after specific locations in real life. However, they're not an exact copy. So first things first, we have the door into the layout. You'll notice in the back here there's a very cleverly designed mechanism. This is a layout my dad and I have been working on for the past 10 years and something he recently added. So you'll notice when the door closes, the backdrop actually closes and creates a full backdrop. It's a simple mechanical mechanism here without any electronics. We have one stationary part of the pin here and another one that's on a drawer slider which retracts the backdrop as the door opens. Coming into the layout, the swing bridge also has a mechanism that cuts off track power, so when these two levers are depressed, the power is flowing to the track while they're open. It cuts the power about 5 feet in either direction so that trains won't go off the end of the layout. Here's a good view of that backdrop. You'll see as the door closes, that backdrop extends to meet up with the backdrop on the side of the lower level. We have a pin that drops into place there to lock everything into place, and everything lines up pretty well for the most part. And then this is the lower level. I'll give you a quick tour. Here's the control point in Murphy Junction, which is a prototype location just outside of Asheville. We have these little nameplates showing the track names, locations, and how the control points are laid out, as well as the overall direction, east or west. At the top is Grovestone, a small town at the top of the climb with the siding of Grovestone. We have two staging yards on the layout. The first one is a small stub-in staging yard here underneath the Peninsula. Then we have a larger one underneath the main yard. I'll show you more on that in just a little bit. Here's the west end of Asheville Yard. This is an 8-track yard with 2 main tracks, so a total of 11 tracks. We have a museum here in the back, and here in the middle of the layout is the Peninsula. This is loosely based on the Asheville loops, but takes a lot of inspiration from the CSX Clinchfield loops and other areas in the region. Here at the east end of Asheville, we have the Asheville engine shops, control point of Biltmore, the Asheville Tower, and the Asheville station as well. Also here at the east end of Asheville is where the S-line branches off. So down here we have the double main lines, which allow for continuous running. They loop back to Murphy Junction over there. And the S-line branches off, which runs up to Grovestone, which I just showed you, and the paper mill, which is here on the upper level. We have a coal mine here. We run live coal loads. I'll show you more in that in a few minutes. And the entire layout is a combination of CTC and ABS. CTC means it's controlled by a dispatcher, where ABS signals mean that they are controlled automatically, or automatic block signals. We run this on CATS. It's a free software that runs in conjunction with JMRI. You'll see here it's a point and click, just like real dispatchers have. We've modeled this after the prototype dispatcher's board. So you'll see here if we click on the signal, we now have permission through this block, and the light changes from red to yellow. if it doesn't glitch out. So if we have a yellow light here, we can give ourselves a crossover at Russell. We now have permission through the next block and to crossover at the following signal. So this light automatically upgrades to a yellow over green, which means approach the next signal expecting to take the diverging route or an approach diverging signal. We can take that signal away, throw the crossovers at Russell back to normal, give ourselves a clear signal, and it'll go up to green. Right now it glitches out a little bit because I have the track power off just to keep things quiet on the layout. Usually it runs a little smoother once track power's on. So that's how that works. All the main level, lower level is controlled with CTC signals, and the upper level is all ABS or automatic signals, just like the prototype. New as of this year, we've added skirting to the entire lower level. It really kind of cleans up the face of the layout, hides a lot of the stuff we have stored under the main level, our main layout. And then some new backdrops as well. We'll start our tour here at Murphy Junction. This is the continuation of the lower level. We have two main tracks that run around the entire lower level, and then the W line, which branches off, goes underneath the layout, goes to the reversing loop here, which loops around, comes back out there, so you can reverse trains if you need to. Currently we have a frac sand sitting on the reversing loop. And then here is the grade that descends down, loops underneath the layout, loops around again, and then enters the staging yard here. So it's really great for operations to have a point of origination and destination for trains when you're running an operating session. We have a crossover, the two main tracks. This is a custom built signal bridge. This is a BLMA frame with Details West signals that was custom built. We use Digitrax with Wi-Fi throttles. Coming through here, we're at the west end of Asheville and the control point of Russell. We have a signal bridge that's loosely based on the one in Biltmore. So again, it's a prototype freelance layout, not exactly based on any one prototype location, but draws a lot of inspiration from the overall area. We have a double crossover here with two main lines that run through the yard, as well as an abandoned building here with an old rail line and a rusted out flat car, as well as a track that is no longer connected to the main line. Here at the west end, we have a run-through track. This is used for moving engines and trains through the yard, while the rest of the tracks are storage tracks. We have a loaded coal train here on the outside main line. These are the helper units, which will push the train up to 2.6% grade. We typically run between 30 to 40 car trains. I think this coal train is about 40 cars, and it actually takes all 5 engines to get it up the steep 2.6% grade. So trains will be loaded at the coal mine west of Asheville. They'll come into Asheville yard where the helper engines will be added, and then the train will proceed upgrade. Once it gets to the top of the grade, the helper engines will cut off, run back downhill light power, and they'll be able to assist the next train up the hill. This is also a general freight which runs through, switches out Asheville. Currently it's just sitting on the main line, as well as a couple other trains that are sitting here in the Asheville yard. We typically have a set of 4-axle yard power, and then occasionally we'll have a CSX run-through train. Here we have a Duke Power coal train, which is sitting in the yard with some CSX units here on the front. So again, one thing not totally found on the real prototype Asheville district, but we do have some CSX run-through trains. Here in the middle of the yard, the control point of Mitchell, are these signals, as well as a small museum that's currently under construction, but houses some of the old Norfolk and Western steam locomotives here. This is a project my dad's been working on for a while, and something really cool to see to come together. Here at the east end of Asheville, we have the Asheville engine shops, as well as the Asheville Tower. This controls all movements within the yard on the prototype. The yard office, of course, no layout's complete without a PTI van to move the crews around, as well as some maintenance away trucks and maintenance away of equipment. This is a beautiful custom-built signal bridge made by Kennedy. So we have the two mainline signals, as well as the signal out of the yard. So this is a totally scratch-built signal with the PTC stands and new custom-made control boxes for the control point Biltmore. So huge thanks to him and some incredible work on this signal here at the east end of Asheville. On the outside main track is the coal train I was talking about. It has some run-through BNSF power. That'll run upgrade to the paper mill, where I'll show you the unloading process, as well as the paper mill local. In real life, when Norfolk Southern ran these trains, they a lot of times had 4 or 5 smaller locomotives to bring this train up the branch line with box cars, wood chip cars, and everything else for the paper mill. Here at the engine shops, we have 2 ready tracks where locomotives are fueled and sanded, as well as 3 shop tracks where more heavy maintenance duty or inspections are done. This is where diesel fuel is stored for the facilities, as well as the back shops with some really cool custom-made loads. I'll put a couple links to those in the descriptions below, as well as some overall details for locomotives that are worked on here at the Asheville engine shops. Moving east out of Asheville, we begin the 2.6% grade in the back that climbs all the way up, enters a tunnel behind the coal mine, and comes out here on the peninsula. So it runs through the back of the workbench. Also here we have a really neat signal replacement project. This is another BLMA signal bridge with Details West signal heads to model the current Norfolk Southern signals, as well as a custom-built truck, again by my friend Kennedy Parnell, who's done just an awesome job with a lot of small details here on the layout, so a huge thanks to him. A couple modern buildings here in the front, as well as a gas station. We still need to finish all the markings on the road, the grade crossings here, but we've just about finished the Asheville station. A couple more details to add once things are done, but we have the old Southern caboose like a lot of places around here have. Nice parking lot. And again, we'll kind of finish up the roads and finish up the scene with power lines and all sorts of other small details. One thing here, you probably heard me talk about it before, but our plan is to add a fully integrated traffic signal and crossing light. So when the train comes, the traffic light responds accordingly. So a little bit of work there, but it'll be a fun project. Here's the control point of Magnolia. This is where the Asheville yard limits begin and end, with some custom signals here as well, and an abandoned grade crossing. On the lower level here we enter the coal mine. This is the old coal mine where you can see there's an old track that was ripped up, and then the flood loader. It's one of my favorite parts about the layout. We run live coal loads. So up top we have a rotary dumper which automatically unloads all of the coal. Dumps it into a huge hopper bin here. We have a scraper just to be able to pull the coal back if we have to. It's attached to pretty much a shovel there in the back. We have an old PlayStation mechanism here that vibrates the bin and helps the coal flow down the chute and into the flood loader. I have some old videos on this if you want to see how it works. We have a tortoise switch machine which is attached to a chute that opens and closes to allow the coal to flow into the hoppers below. So more information on that on some previous videos if you're interested. We have a really cool wreck scene here with some old cars, an old signal bridge. So just small details that are really fun to have here in the layout, as well as another custom-built signal bridge here by Kennedy. So these are the accurate ones for Norfolk Southern. They have the wide hoods, just very, very slight differences, but overall make for a very compelling Norfolk Southern layout. The climb begins here. It comes out of the tunnel here on the peninsula. It's continuing its 2.6% climb upgrade here. We have the signals of Coleman. Again, this is a prototype location on the main S line in the middle of the loops that we thought we'd represent here. Some very characteristic old Southern style concrete bridges here with a 1-lane road underneath it as the train climbs above, and that road continues down into the valley with the river, which this is almost down here. We do need to add a couple more trees here, as well as the water and rapids in the river below. We enter a nice cut here with some rock fence guards. Down below is the outside of the reversing loop with a small industry here that I mentioned before. And continuing upgrade, we have a large trestle here at the end of the peninsula with the river flowing through, and even a small rafting and country store here in the middle of the peninsula. And working our way up, we come across a small wood chip loading facility and boxcar loading facility where they do lumber and send out wood chips. Those are also carried up to the paper mill. Here's an awesome crossing signal system by Signalogic Systems, so huge thanks to them for kind of helping me get this system designed. But it's all photocell, so when a train comes, the signals automatically lower at a very realistic speed. We have the sensor spaced out, excuse me, so that the gates come down at an appropriate time. When the train's off the track, those gates go back up. Just like the real thing. We have High Fill, which is another prototype location on the Old Fort loops. And working our way up, we're almost at the top of the climb. Here's a small cement industry, which takes cement cars as well as sand cars here on the back of the track. Another old concrete bridge, very similar to a lot of the ones Southern Railway used when they built this line. We go through a cut and come into the town of Grovestone. Now we do have this side track here if we want to do continuous running and just let trains run. We can run both on the upper and lower levels. However, typically if we're operating trains just us, or during an operating session, we'll run this part of the layout point to point. Another crossing here at the west end of Grovestone. Small town, which is actually modeled more or less after Saluda, very similar feel to the two towns here, and a lot of small towns in western North Carolina. Again, these are automatic block signals, so they're all automatically controlled. However, for these switches, we do have a switch indicator to represent a lot of the switches that would be found along the S line and W line in real life. So here we're at the siding of Grovestone, over a river, a small private crossing here in the middle of the siding. Come across the window to the east end of Grovestone siding, where we enter back into mountainous territory. This is our tunnel district. We go through a couple tunnels. Very cool cabin up there. Need lots and lots more trees here to finish off this scene. We're slowly working our way through. This is a bridge that was again modeled after a prototype one on the Southern Railway Old Fort loops. And then we have the very crest of the hill here through this tunnel before we start descending into the town of Old Fort, where we enter the paper mill. We come across the river here. Again, needs trees, needs water, but we're working our way there and into the town of Old Fort. Here we have an old Southern Railway station, all sorts of lights and Main Street here. Here's Main Street Old Fort with some crossings. We see the Chip View Barbecue, an awesome building my dad did here. The kitchen, restaurant, all sorts of things. And then in the back is the wood chip unloading facility. Also here we have a small hotel in town with a nice lobby, a dance hall upstairs, pool table. And it's also lit on the inside. Here's the Old Fort paper mill. This is a 3-track yard with a spur track on the outside for maintenance away and storing locomotives. We have the wood chip unloading facility, the engine facility, which is actually a turntable, as you can see. So if we run steam engines up here and want to turn them, this is the pin. Very clever way to hide a turntable, and you can turn a steam engine around just like that. When you're done, you put the pin back in place, line up the tracks, and it goes right back to normal. Here we have our packaging facility and the overall main facility here where the boxcars are loaded with paper that's outbound to customers across the country. In the back we have the power and steam station. This provides power to the plant. This is where our coal trains terminate. So coal trains will come into the yard. They will shove back into the track here where they'll unload via the rotary dumper back into the bin below. And lastly, we have the chemical unloading plant here that's tied in with the paper mill for all the chemicals required for the paper making process. This track continues eastbound back to the town of Grovestone that I showed you earlier. And that is just about the overall tour of the layout. So I said it'd be quick, 20 minutes. Wasn't quite quick, but I do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know in the comment sections below. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.